All right, so I'm going to make this video because a lot has changed since I started dating in my 20s. Now I am 30, and this is how I sort of adapted my, not strategy, but my lifestyle so that I can adapt to, you know, what's the dating pool like, especially in North America. So I'm sure you guys noticed it's quite different. It's quite difficult now. Not in a sense that we don't know what we're doing. Well, a lot of men are. But it's the quality. The quality has gone so low that you're always questioning yourself. You're always questioning, why is this not working out? And all with all this red pill movement and all of that, you're always putting the blame on yourself. Because yes, although in life we should take responsibility for everything, and that's how we adapt and evolve and change as a man. But sometimes, you're putting too much attention on a woman that is not deserving you long term, right? So let's go back in the beginning. So, when I was 20, I guess 22, 23, guys, I lost my virginity at 21. Okay, so I was quite late in the game. I was in university, and I tried to put my best pictures out there on Tinder. It was quite horrible, but I managed to, get someone that was, at least attracted to me, and it was enough to go on a date. And was super shy, man. I was always shy, still am sometimes, but it's not part of who I am. But I remember losing my virginity, and I felt in love with that girl. I thought that was love, man. And as soon as I started to show neediness, because obviously when you like someone, God forbid you're needy sometimes, and she gently pushed me away right before the Christmas break, and I was devastated. I tried to win her back during the holidays, the study break and all that. And dude, it did not work out, let me tell you. But just to say that it got my foot in the door. And after I was probably 22, and after that sort of massive heartbreak, which wasn't really a heartbreak, I bought a book about self-help, towards dating. It was a book called How to Be a 3% Man by Corey Wayne. I would say he's a life coach, also a relationship coach. And dude, as I was reading pages and pages, I was like, oh my goodness, that's what I did. That's, I was able to pinpoint everything I was doing wrong, leading up to, the courtship. Basically, how I asked for a date was totally wrong, right? And, I myself thought, you should text, you should warm her up, text every day, show your interest and all of that. And, that couldn't be further from the truth, right? So one big key thing I learned from Corey Wayne was to use the phone to set dates. Only. You set the phone to set dates. If she reaches out, you assume she wants to see you. And after a couple exchanges, you set the next plan. I mean, as easy as that. Even better if you manage to call her, right? That was way back in the day, right? So just by doing that alone and fixing, sort of turning those maybes into yeses. I have lots of instances where, I would start texting a girl, and, I would shoot my shot, maybe sometimes a little bit too early, but I would try to make plans. Say, hey, when are you free to get together? And then Let's say, oh, I'm free anytime. Let's say I pick a day. I could do Wednesday, 8 p.m. I'll come pick you up. And I'm not going to tell you what we're doing. It's a surprise. Something like that. And if she replies kind of wishy-washy, well, we'll see. I think I had something planned with my friends that day, but I'll let you know. Right? A big key takeaway I learned from Corey Wayne was just like in sales, you have to be able to walk away and, walk away from the table and not look back, right? So what I did was I tried to, show that my time is valuable. So I would go like, look, Jessica, I'd love to see you, but if you're not sure, then how about we just do it some other time? And then most of the time, they would say, oh no, I'll be free. Something like that. Or make a witty comment about, oh, I see. Okay. Sure, I'll be free. And then, that's how you made the plans. Like every time they would be wishy-washy, it would either be this or sometimes they would say, yeah, okay, another time. And then they would reach back out after 3 or 4 days of not hearing from me. So that would be a sign that, on a attraction scale, 4 being the bare minimum, right? 10 being, she's pretty much in love with you. If you can keep her at a 4, from the beginning, if she's at a 4, she'll do things like that. And as long as you maintain your frame, you still have a chance, right, of getting together with her, right? So that was a big key thing that I learned from this mentor, Corey Wayne. Great guy. And, I also learned how to sort of be witty, not answer any topic seriously. Like, not getting into this boring conversation, like what do you do? And especially don't get into like religion or thoughts on marriage or politics and things like that. Never get into that. Like that's just insane, right? And keep the date short. Keep it short. Don't spend like 10 hours together. Unless you can feel like she's really into you, then yeah, maybe you can stretch it out so that at the end of that date, you can bring her home, right? Because that happens, After a first date, if the connection's strong, if you feel that tension, that sexual tension inside of you, there's a slight chance that she feels that as well. Not a slight, a big chance. And then, towards the end of the date, if you didn't make out with her during the date, that's where you could stretch the date back to your place. Hey, let's have a couple of drinks at my place. Just say it as a matter of fact, not trying to get her approval. Assume that she wants to go home with you. So, I started doing that a lot, after my first heartbreak. And, met a couple cool girls that I was able to get on, 3-4 dates plus. And, sometimes, especially if she was much better than that first girl, I would still slip up at times, showing neediness, showing too much that, I was into her, right? And the moment she can sense that you're more into her than she's into you, that's where she could slightly, start pulling away, not texting as frequently, taking more time to text, and, maybe canceling a plan with you. And since you like her, you kind of go along with that. So you don't enforce the boundaries that you had in the beginning. And that's where she starts losing respect for you, right? So that's a major thing. Whether I'm 30 or 22, this still works to this day. If you lose frame, you're going to be in trouble, right? And she'll start pulling away. And, most guys, when they see her with another guy, they scratch their heads wondering, what the hell have I done? And, it's quite simple. You just lost frame, bud. Okay. So the dating aspect, that's kind of what I did. I used the phone to set dates and, was always going to go on drinks at that same restaurant that I liked, right? So, we'd get a cool spot every time, and servers were friendly to me. So, slightly raises your social status a little bit. And so now doing that for a bit, I got a first long-term relationship from that, and didn't last long, but I learned my lesson. I learned, when to pull the plug if a girl is too crazy or something like that. And you start knowing what you like, what you don't like. When you start dating a lot, you get through a lot of noise, a lot of sort of qualities that you realize that maybe you're not after, right? You're not after those qualities. And you learn a lot. And dating apps, I mean, you're gonna have to skim through a lot of bad deals, right? So that's why I recommend doing what you love, like especially in university. Man, you have lots of free time to after your classes. You can go to the gym, you can go to places like certain clubs, right? You can meet people that like the same things that you do. And from there, you can grow, like, make big connections with not only girls, but guys as well, making guy friends, growing your social circle. And, let's say you have mutual friends. The girls know who you are just from face to face, but it's much easier barrier of entry. Like, you're not a complete stranger anymore because you kind of see each other frequently, Even if you don't speak that much in the beginning, she still knows who you are. And if you're being your true self, if you're being free and just enjoying life, not taking yourself too seriously, she's going to see that. And she might even take the first move, get closer to your orbit, ask you a random question one day. And then this is sort of a strong signal that you should probably capitalize on that and chat her up, see if she's cool, right? Have that frame. Not trying to win her over, but just to see if she's cool enough. It's kind of like that push and pull. You're the trophy, man. You're the prize. She's not, okay? If you can employ that mindset as a man, it's not about being arrogant or cocky. It's about knowing your self-worth, okay? And turning your reality into a strong masculine man. Because, you got things to do, right? You should be busy. You shouldn't, look at your phone and, wonder when she's going to reply to your texts. That's where, all this text game and all that it's kind of shit, to be honest, because, if you're purposely delaying a reply or something like that, it just shows that you don't have much going on in your life. Like, you should be so busy, like, doing what you love, being on your purpose, that, you kind of look at your phone and it's like, oh shit, I forgot to reply to her. Then, you just go about your day and reply to her, and she's going to see that, wow, he's very busy, Maybe he's seeing other women, things like that. And that brings abundance. She's not sure if, she's the only one that you're seeing. So that builds up that scarcity. And, the attraction rises. Attraction builds up when you spend time apart. When she wonders about you is when her attraction level rises. So, Corey Wayne, I mean, you really teach me how to be patient. Start with one date every week. And after the first date, wait 3-4 days, before reaching out, wanting to see her again. And eventually you'll start noticing that she's going to reach out in between those dates, because one time per week is not enough for her, right? So when she reaches out, you assume that she wants to see you. So rinse, recycle, repeat. Hang out, have fun, and hook up, right? And just be that charming James Bond 90% of the time, and 10% of the time be like that older brother that's kind of like teasing her a little bit, but deep down she knows, you're into her. And don't reveal your cards too soon. Don't reveal your interest. Don't say I miss you, like words like that. This, as crazy as it sounds, I've had girls in my life where, she would maybe say that, I miss you. And I would reply, I miss you too. And next thing you know, you slowly start seeing like that pull away. Like it's crazy. So don't reveal too much. Just be a little cocky sometimes. Say I miss you. If she says, hey, I miss you. Yeah, I know. Kind of with a smirk. And it's through your actions that you can show that. That you show that you care. She has to sense that you care for her a little bit. But if she cares more than you, but you still care, that's a good dynamic, right? If she initiates physical contact more than you, that's a strong sign, right? She always has to want you more, a little bit more than you want her. Okay, that's a strong man to woman dynamic. So initially, that's in my 20s, that was a major takeaway, right? I've made some mistakes, man. We all do. But at least I didn't settle for someone like I wasn't fully in love with, right? And love is a concept that, still something I'm trying to figure out. It's definitely not like the Hollywood movies you see out there, right? I think love is more of a choice. If you really want to commit to someone, it is a choice because we all have our ups and downs, pros and cons. There's not one soulmate out there, right? There's a lot of people that could be compatible with you. And at the end of the day, you make that choice whether you want to invest your life with that person or not. So that's kind of like my version of love in a nutshell. Could change as I grow older, but for now, it is what it is. And it's much better to, see what you truly want out of life and, work on your mission, your purpose, which right now is me helping men, have an abundance of women and, find their true purpose in their life. Because men are so lost these days. So going back to dating, okay? So that was sort of like my approach every time I would set plans with somebody and get into a date. Now, since I'm 30, and you're not in university anymore, you're kind of like in the job marketplace. Maybe you moved out to another city, and you're starting fresh, right? You don't know anyone, and you don't know where to go to meet people that think alike, and it can be overwhelming. So I would say, like, first of all, you can't stay home, right? You gotta go out. You gotta go out. Like, there's a bunch of apps these days where, there's one, I can't remember the name, but you sign up and you can you go on a dinner, like, with, like, 5 other people or however many, and you kind of get to know each other. It's kind of like a blind dinner date with multiple people. You can grow a circle like that, just get outside, right? Get to know people. I'm not saying these are going to be your best friends or whatever, but it could be a good start when you move into a new city. And I would walk around a lot. I walk, 15, 20K steps. That's what I did when I was in Seoul, when I was in Bangkok for around 18 days each. That's what I did. I just walked around different neighborhoods, right? And, as you walk around, especially in these high traffic areas, you're going to make eye contact with girls that, you like. And it's up to you now whether you want to be a man and go talk to her or just keep walking. Remember, she'll never see you again, right? She'll never see you again unless, you chat her up. So what's the big deal? Like, why are you so scared of a 115-pound girl, right? Like you shouldn't. It's not about her. It's about you. It's your limiting beliefs. And that's another video. But you gotta go in, okay, and you gotta believe that it would be a disservice not to stop her and you talking to her. She it's an opportunity of a lifetime for her to meet you. And it's a privilege for you to talk to her. It's a privilege. For her, it is a massive, massive privilege. And you got to go in and say, hey, I want you to stop and talk to me. You have to want to get into the conversation with her. If you go in, half out, she's going to sense that and she's going to be creeped out, right? So you got to go all in with full intention. I'm stopping you, I'm talking to you because I know my worth, and you're going to enjoy our conversation. And if you're cool enough, I'll ask for your number, and then we can hang out later. It's kind of like that mindset you have to embody, right? And obviously, you can still dabble into the dating apps, but I am not a big fan of dating apps. I think it could be a huge waste of time. And now with all the premium versions and all of that, it's just an algorithm game where, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. You can just go out there and meet her in person, and you get, you get her vibe. You can't really get her vibe through texting, unless you FaceTime and all of that, but it's just a lot of logistics, right? You got to text, then you got to set up a FaceTime call, then you FaceTime, and if she's cool enough, you chat her up to hang out, maybe 4 days after or whatever, and then, from the time you text her to meet her, it's like a fucking week sometime. And, if you're busy, you don't have time for that bullshit, So, that's as far as meeting her, and don't worry about the game and pick up things and, pick up lines and how to like push and pull and demonstrating high value and all of that. If you're just starting out, just going up to her and fixing that inner belief that you want her to stop and that you're the fucking man, that alone will fix a lot of problems, okay? Just by doing that, it limits your anxiety because there's no open. You just assume familiarity. You assume that, assume that she's a good friend. She's a good friend of yours that you've known all your life. And by just delusioning yourself into that, when you approach her, it's almost like you're approaching a friend, and that familiarity, she'll feel it. She'll feel it. And if on top of that you want her to stop and, it's a privilege for her to talk to you, having all that will increase dramatically your positive interactions. So that would be my big plus because, if you approach a 10, let's say on paper, even if your pickup line or your opener is gold, she's going to view you lower and lower as you keep the interaction going because you don't have true understanding of game. So do you see why now your line or your opener doesn't really matter? Right? Because, when you get into the interaction, like a minute in, 2 minutes in, 3 minutes in, you can turn her off at any moment because you're not that experienced with that. So just by, working on your vocal projections, your inner beliefs, and showing intent in the beginning, showing her that, this is a man-to-woman conversation. Even though sometimes being too overt, is not ideal, you're kind of like showing a little bit of neediness through that and putting her on the pedestal. But you're a beginner, you're just starting out, right? You just got to get past that fear, believe in yourself, work on your vocal projection, have good posture. And, if you hit the gym at the same time and work on being the most presentable possible, right, it's going to show. And raising her testosterone is going to build that courage. You don't need that alcohol to build that courage, okay? Don't need the whiskey. So that's my 2 cents on approaching right now for a beginner. So now the dating, obviously, it has changed a little bit because the quality now is not as great. And, especially if you're looking for a long-term relationship, it's not easy. It's not easy. Unless you want to move abroad like me, go into Asia, there's lots more quality out there. And when you go out, there's a lot of women compared to men. Like the ratio is kind of insane. Like when I was in Bangkok, every bars that I went to, like there's so much more women than men, and they're bombshells. They're not just like Thai women. There's people from all over the world that go into Bangkok. I mean, it's a mega city. It's a mega city. So much you can do there, right? So much. And sometimes just changing your environment can drastically improve your dating life. Not because they're easy there. Not that. It's because they understand what a man should be like. They understand their role, right, as women, and they are attracted to masculine men. They're not trying to get into a feminist debate with you, They're there to meet men, okay? But that's not to say that, there's there's not bad quality out there. And what you got to keep in mind is that pains me to say this, but you don't want to get into monk mode either, right? Because monk mode, I mean, it's another extreme, right? You're working, and you're not socializing, and you're never going to improve your social skills that way if you do that. But when you want to date a woman, obviously you're going to have to get to know her, go on dates, and, don't be surprised if on date 4 she says something that, makes you totally turned off and, just check out totally. That can happen, and that can suck because you have this image of her that you want her to be, and then after date 4, gone, boom. It's like, it sucks, right? It sucks. Or like you're doing perfect game, you're not being needy. She's having a great time with you. And all of a sudden, she kind of disappears or ghosts you out of the blue. And, you're scratching your head, man. It's like, what? What the fuck? And, she just basically showed her true colors. People can hide who they are for 90 days on average. And, if they have trauma that you don't know about, right, it can really fuck you up because everything was going so well. You've built a little bit of attachment to her. You really think she's a great girl and she can be great potential for long term. But, don't be surprised if they reveal their true selves later on. And you got to be a man and just slightly just let her go. Let her go. And, if she comes back, she comes back, but you have to know your worth. Like you can't give too much attention to somebody who's not worth it long term, right? So you just got to go through the motions and not really like having this grandiose idea that, this might be the one. Always be on your guard. Not to say like never open yourself up to new connections, but always have in the back of your mind that you never know when your turn is over, right? Because that's just part of life. I mean, you're going to meet an amazing woman, and for some reason it doesn't work out. It doesn't always work out, even though it went great, right? And you got to understand that. So what I suggest is you find your purpose, you find your mission in life, and you go all out on this. And while you do that, when you go about your day, this is where you can interact with what woman, that crosses your path, that you feel like you want to get to know more. about them, and you sort of start building this dating life on the side, right? Which is not, it's like not a priority, but it's part of your life. You're putting some time aside for that, and you date as many girls as you can, get to know them, and through your actions, you're showing that you have a mission in life, you have a purpose, and you go after that. You're being busy, right? And you're purposely, going after what you want. And when you reply to them late and all that, it's not because you're playing games. It's because of who you are, right? And some will stick around, some will leave because they don't think they deserve a man like you. And that's totally fine. She's saving you time, right? She's saving you time. When she shows you who she is, believe her, right? And just move on, slightly detach yourself, move on to the next one. And now today, when you go on dates, it's just don't make it as formal. What I notice now in this dating age is when you want to ask a girl out on a date, just invite her to do something that you were gonna do anyway, right? Because it could be as silly as like, hey, I'm gonna do some groceries. This place you want to come with, or you're changing oil to your car, or something like that. It's just something that she can tag along, right? Which is, I know it sounds stupid, but just doing something or something that she can help you with, not laborious, not something laborious, but something she feels helpful, doing with you. That could be nice. That could build a connection. And it's not investment heavy. I mean, it's something you were going to do anyway, right? Or say, hey, look, I'm hitting up this bar this weekend with some friends. You should come, you should join. So, inviting her out to certain places that you're going to is like just a low barrier of entry. Because if she's really interested, she's going to, come join. And then you can, chat her up casually in public and all that. You know, when you ask for a date and you kind of say these words, hey, let's go out on a date or something like that, it doesn't always work, right? So my advice is, try to experiment with that. And if one thing doesn't work and you truly like the girl, wait another week, try again, and tweak your approach a little bit. And, once you get that foot in the door, I just find one-on-one time. For me, it's easy to make a connection with a girl. Sometimes it's just about getting her to invest, that time with you because she doesn't fully know you, right? So, yeah, this in a nutshell is what really changed today in the dating market. One, it's much harder now to get through the quality because, girls are getting bombarded with attention, on social media and all of that, and trauma from past boyfriends, abusive boyfriends, toxic boyfriends, and now they don't believe they deserve a masculine man like you. Whereas just not being toxic, just being masculine, stoic man with calm confidence, and sometimes she, after realizing who you are, she doesn't feel like she deserves that and self sabotage sometimes. And if you get attached to a girl like that, it's really hard to let go sometimes because you never get that closure. So you have to be aware of that, right? Be aware of that. And on the second thing, when it comes to asking girls out on a date, you're a busy man. Just casually ask her to come along with you on a certain thing you were gonna do anyway, right? Things like that. Start off with that. Then you can sort of move on to having a drink, one on one, things like that. Don't jump to dinner dates, first date. That's so 2015. Don't do that. Unless, yeah, sure, you have lots of money and whatever, and in your mid 30s, 40s, and you're old fashioned, and you it could still work. But for me personally, that's what has worked best, right? And because you want to skim through all the noise, right? You don't want to spend 50, $100 on a dinner. It's probably even more than that, depending on the city you're in. But it's a sniff test. You want to get to know her first, right? And dudes, cut your texting by 90%. Only text to set like meetups and things like that, and never have like serious conversations on the phone. Make it always funny, like you're a 5-year-old, right? Be silly. Be silly. And, have a carefree attitude, right? And when she reaches out, a couple exchanges, and then after that, assume she wants to see you, set up the next meetup, add some mystery to it. Never fully like say what you're gonna do or things like that, or wear this, wear that. Just have banter. So yeah, this will be my main takeaways, and get out there, go on some dates, and yeah, DM me if you have any questions, any situation, current situation they want to talk about, want my advice on. Hit me up. Cheers.